Hi, I'm William Spaniel. Let's learn about international relations. Today's topic is the unitary actor assumption. This is actually something that I address in Chapter 1 of my new book, The Rationality of War. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go to the video description and click on the link on Amazon, and that will allow you to then click on the Look Inside feature, at which point you'll be able to read this first chapter for free. But that aside, let's actually get to what we're talking about today. So remember, in this unit, we're talking about the origins of war. And before we were talking about war a little bit more generally, but for this unit, we're actually going to be narrowing our interest into this specific question. Can two perfectly intelligent, perfectly unbiased leaders fight a war against each other? And we call this sort of the unitary actor assumption in political science. So we're going to assume throughout this unit that states are single entities and their leaders are only interested in maximizing the overall welfare of the state. So if you recall back to Unit 1, we talked about this recipe for our formal strategic models. Our first step was to create some assumptions, our second step was to do some math, and our third step was to reach some logically valid conclusions. And so the assumption that we're creating here is just this unitary actor assumption that states are just one entity. And the reason that we do that is because it would be really interesting if we could find out ways that perfectly intelligent, perfectly unbiased leaders would fight each other. Because if those guys are fighting each other, then certainly our biased leaders and our unintelligent leaders are definitely going to be getting into fights. So if we can find out these reasons why these intelligent guys would be fighting, then we're going to learn something about these unintelligent guys as well. Specifically about this unitary actor assumption. Is it true all of the time? Definitely not. Is it true some of the time? Maybe. But the important thing about these unitary actor assumptions, or this unitary actor explanation for war, is that when leaders try to justify wars to their domestic populace, they will tell you rationalist explanations that use this unitary actor assumption. So it's very important that we understand what's going on with these unitary actor beliefs, because that's how our leaders are actually feeding us these wars. So to see how this works, think about some things that you'll never hear a leader say. You'll never hear a leader say that I really suck at running our domestic economy, so I'm going to go out and fight a war to distract you from how poorly this economy is running, and maybe you'll see that I'm a war hero and then you'll re-elect me anyway. You'll never hear a leader say that. You'll also never hear a leader say that the media is too interested in a sex scandal involving some intern I never slept with, so I'm going to bomb some random countries in Africa you've never heard of. You will never hear a leader say that. Some things that you will hear a leader say, however, is that this war is in the best interest of our national security. Or they'll say that we have a moral obligation. We have a moral obligation to intervene. Or they might say that stabilizing the region will secure our economic interests. What they're going for here is broad support, that this is in the best interest of the country. It's all about we together, or us, or our interests. It's never about an individual. It's always about the collective. So these are how these sorts of explanations are, these are the reasons that leaders give us for war, are these unitary actor reasons. So in some, it's about we and not me, and so that means we should be applying this unitary actor assumption. So to justify why we're going to be doing it, well, the unitary actor assumption allows us to analyze the validity of these sorts of explanations that our leaders feed us. And then the second thing, another reason why we should be interested in these unitary actor assumptions, is that the war dynamics that we discuss after we get past this unitary actor assumption video, when we start discussing the actual explanations for war, well, regardless of whether states are unitary actors or they have domestic political cleavages, the leaders of those countries are going to be faced with these same sort of conundrums that we'll see in the unitary actor models. But it's going to be easier to isolate these factors that I'm talking about without the domestic cleavages. Basically, why throw in additional difficult work for us to do when we can get the same result out of a simpler model? And so that's another reason that we're going to be using this unitary actor assumption, is because it's going to be easier to get at these fundamental issues that cause war when there are fewer guys running around, when it's just the president of two countries and not the president and his vice president and the Republicans in Congress and so forth. If it's just one guy on each side, much easier to figure out these sorts of reasons why states fight wars. And so that wraps up this unitary actor assumption, and in the next video, we'll actually start talking about something interesting called war's inefficiency puzzle. I hope you join me then. Take care.